Alrighty, what is going on everybody? Welcome back to the video, and in this video I'm going to be teaching you guys how to rotate max zones. Now this is a very important video and a very important skill concept to know, because now in this meta there isn't really any mobility. The only mobility are the natural mobility, so the stuff that's 100% or like always there, the rifts, the geysers, the launch pads, the cannons, stuff like that. That stuff's always on the map. So please learn all of these spawns. And now we also have these grappler gloves that are really similar to the Spider-Mans, except for nerfed a bit in the sense that there aren't 50 charges anymore, there's only 10. Now, the grappler gloves are pretty, I don't want to say situational because you'll see them in your game, but if you land somewhere like Chonker, Sleepy, maybe even Logjam, if you land somewhere where you don't have a spawn nearby, you probably won't get one unless you kill a team that has one. So it is still important to know how to rotate a max zone, even if you have a grappler glove spawn. Just because you don't know, next patch they might remove it because they're like, let's just keep that in 0 build, fuck competitive. They're gonna have no rotates, which is fine if you know how to rotate max zones without any movement. So your only movement is yourself. So the very first point I want to make is, when do you leave your drop? What is a good time for you to leave your drop? That's what I'm going to be covering here. So the timing is kind of, it's hard to give you kind of like a fixed number. You really have to play it by experience, by what you're used to. So let's say Chonkers in this case is going to be the POI we're going to talk about. It doesn't have any form of natural rotates nearby, and it doesn't really have anything like, there's no cars or Chonker tires here. In most cases, you won't be able to get either of these rifts because there might be 1 or 2 spawns, and you won't be able to get the gloves either. So you have to make this rotate into the zone right now. Now, when do you leave? Well, if you leave when zone starts closing, that's going to be too late, because all the teams that have zone already are either A, they're going to greed out on their position just a little bit because they can get max metal, they can get more loot because they did pull zone, or they're going to leave at the normal time, base up on one of these places that have fucking God Surge. So a really big one that affects the Chonkers team are these tilted hills around here. That's really big. This spot's also a very hot zone. It's a lot of teams rotate through, a lot of teams hold people, so a lot of teams base up around here, and this whole area is just very scary to rotate through. And then you also might have teams base it up a little bit earlier, like this, where they want to tag you when you're making your rotate in, and then they just run in before you look at them, or whatever way you go. So either way, the rotate is pretty scary around here, and those teams will already be based up, ready to go, ready to hold you when you're running in. So I'd say if Storm starts moving and you haven't left your POI and it pulled max, that's way too late. You're leaving way too late. Now, kind of like the win depends on what you have at your disposal at your POI. So Chonkers has a lot of coolers, it has a lot of metal, wood, and it has pretty decent brick. Honestly, there's some brick spawns around here, nothing crazy like the god bricks you get in the grass, but it's pretty good for desert brick. Now, what you would want to do is figure out kind of a loot path wherever your teammate lands and wherever you land, figure out a loot path where you guys leave pretty quickly. Now, how do you figure out the loot path? VOD review other pros, kind of mess around with it in customs or battle lab or in arena or pubs, probably not pubs, but in arena. Kind of figure out a way you can leave this POI and get at least max metal. Max metal is the most important thing. Leaving 225 is fine for Chonkers because the rotate into zone has a lot of wood and brick on the way there. So you don't need to just haul, you can haul ass and white line it if you already have, 545 or 445 coming out of your POI. But if you're 225, 335 or whatever, then you can kind of rotate and get your materials on the way for at least wood and brick. Now for metal, you can't, there's not a lot of metal places. I mean, on the way, this is kind of here. I don't know if it gets hit by the nearby teams, but it might get hit, but it's not enough metal for 2 people. So hit all your metal and then leave zone. Okay, and don't greed a chest. If you land Chonkers and this side is unconned, you don't need all of this over here. If you already have 6 Chonkers, 6 chugs, 6 minis, 3 bigs, you already have full loot. You don't need that side. So sure, it would be nice. Who knows? Your gold striker could be on the other side. But if you greed that and you get your gold striker and you end up rotating into zone, and now you're absolutely shambles because you have to white line it unless you want to tank zone and go around. And going right would be suicide. So going left. And you want to tank zone, or you go in through here, you're gonna get fucking tagged up from all the teams that are gonna hold you because they're trying to get their surge on you. and it's gonna be yippee, you have a gold striker, but now you have one mini and you have no surge and you have to dive into a box, and that's it. So don't greed out for loot. That doesn't matter. Get enough loot to where you can win the game, but not enough where it fucks you over positionally wise. So now we're going to talk about how to get early surge. So there's a few options in terms of early surge. First off, if you're contested and you win your drop and you kill them off spawn, nice, you have your early surge. And if you leave early enough, you might be able to dip out and get into middle zone. So this would change kind of when you leave your drop, because you already have 200 to 300 tags. And so you can leave when you're 335, 225, and you can leave earlier, and you don't have to stop and tag people along the way because you already have some of your surge. You can still tag people if you want, especially if you play in like 90 fucking people left lobbies. But in most cases, you know, for most people that watch my videos, you don't need to stop and tag people. So you're con, you get your surge, you're good. Second, there's splits or places around you where you can get some of your surge on without actually fighting. So Chonkers is a perfect example of this, because sometimes this happens where a team lands over here, they loot all this and they dip out. That's fine. Well, what you can do is if you get an AR early, you base up, not even base up, you just build up a bit and you get, you know, 70 to 80 damage on these guys over here. Then now when you're leaving, you're already leaving with a foundation of surge and you don't need to worry about it that much. Same can say if someone does some crazy shambles split over here. If you see them flying in and you land first and get an AUG, look up and see if you can get 30 to 50 damage. So you get 30, 50 damage on the team landing back here. You get another 80 over here. You're already at like 100 plus damage. Perfect. Now, let's say you're rotating the zone right now. You have no surge, whatever. You're running like this and you hear the rifts behind you. Look up and see, because these guys are going to be flying in something like this. See if you can get, you know, 30 to 50 more damage. If you get that and you'd be leaving already with like almost 200 surge, like if you were conned off spawn. But all you've done is tag the teams that have landed around you. Now let's say Butter Baron and Synapse are fighting over these grapple gloves. When you're running along, take pot shots at them, get more surge. When you're running through like this, you see teams are based up here. Someone is shooting at this team, they're overextended. Get some surge on them. When they're healing, break LOS, go into zone. Whatever, get your early surge, not by fighting, but by leaving it at a time where you can capitalize on other POIs around you. So that's important. Not only do you have to know your own timings on when you leave your own POI, but you also have to know the timings and the common patterns of the POIs and the splits around you. That way you can capitalize on them. So you know that the Synapse team is going to rift in because it's a free rotate. They're just going to hit the rifts and fly in. So if you position yourself somewhere where you can take advantage of them when they're flying in, then you're good. So that's another thing about how to get early surge. Now we're going to move on to how to use natural rotations. So it's pretty difficult for the Chonkers team in this case, just because you don't really have any 100% will always be their natural rotates. You have rifts, but not all three are going to spawn on both ones. So you could technically leave and go over here. You haven't heard the Synapse rifts yet. Then you hear one and you get there and that's it. There's only one rift and now you're fucked. Now you've wasted all of this time to get here and now you have to go in a zone like that. So what do? Well, you could have a little bit of a plan. Good, in most cases you won't be able to get these cannons because the team will be based up here and it's just way more riskier to go like this because you're gonna get lasered out of the air from all these people or anybody on the way. So I would say the only way to really utilize the natural rotates out of Chonkers at least is to kind of swing to the left when you're running through. So maybe the path is, because this is a pretty safe area, I'd say, like right here for the Chonkers team is pretty safe because no one's going to be here. So you could run through like this. You might be able to loop down like this because you know the Synapse team is going to rift, or you loop up and around if there's no teams up here and you don't see the Butterbar team, and you're just going to try to make it all the way from, like, let's say you're here, you're going to run. There's probably not going to be any teams on these sides. Greasy teams probably already left, but maybe they haven't, so be a little bit careful when you cross through here. And once you get to this geyser, you're good. You're basically in from there. You hit this geyser, you either hit this one, or you hit the tree, and then you hit the tree and you go in. And it might get cracked out of the air, so maybe you have to, instead of going directly in, you're diving or doing whatever. But either way, you're pretty much in zone already, and you can just base up wherever you think you can get surge, but you don't need, like, it's kind of hard to explain because a lot of these places are really god spots for surge, but you don't need it if you already have 200 tags. Like, just basing up like here. Oh, that's way too. Basing up like here, anywhere like in the middle of zone, good chances are you're going to get second zone. And it might not be the best for surge, but you already have some surge. So you can be like, okay, fuck it, let's just base up here. Like, we are only going to need 50 more damage for 50 surge or whatever. So, you know, it's all right to not have the best spot if the zone's max pull. Like, you don't need the max, like the best spot to have surge. Now, the next topic is going to be talking about avoiding hot locations. Now, this comes with experience, with knowing the game, know where people base up at. I'd say the most hot spot is definitely over here. So I'd say something like this is very, very hot. A lot of teams like to rotate on the bridge. They want to use the natural rotates that are near them, so the collider launch pads. They want to base up on this tilted hill. They want to base up here. They want to, you know, capitalize on all the teams that have to run through this open space here to get the zone. And they want to, you know, it's great. It's a great spot to get surge if you get there early enough. Now, if you're one of the teams that are late, you're going to probably want to avoid this spot, just because there are a lot of teams around here that are going to be holding you, shooting you, all that fucking crazy shit. I mean, there's tons of tilted hills. This spot is just, it's not fun to go through. So you're going to want to avoid it. Going right from chonkers is fucking crazy. I would never do that, just because all these teams have to get in, and there's a bigger chance you're going to run into them here than on this way, because of it's really just the greasy team. Everyone else can utilize the geysers to get in the zone. So you're going to want to swing left to get into zone, and you just want to avoid this location as much as possible. So that means breaking LOS here, going down through here, going through greasy, breaking LOS, even going like the long way around, maybe hitting this geyser, and then going to this one and then to zone. Either way, you just want to know that there's good chances people are going to be based up there. Now, if you get to here and you see no one on this hill, no one on this hill, then you can go all the way through. You can claim this hill if you want, or you can keep going all the way in. Now, the final thing about max zones is I'm going to say avoid being on edge of zones. I think edge of zones are very, very risky now that there isn't any like concrete mobility. So in the past, it was, sure, if you're the chonkers team, you would just you've Lambo. So you can Lambo here, sit right here on zone, get all your surge on all the teams that don't have any rotates that have to rotate in, and then you just Lambo to the next zone. So there's no risk being on the edge. It was sure, you get your surge if you get it for free. There's literally no risk at all. And the middle of zone was pretty dead until second zone, just because all the teams were on the edge getting their surge on the teams that don't have rotates and then going in. It was literally, yeah, fucking wild. Basically like a free way to get surge, just sit on edge and then use your rotates to get in. Same when the rifts are in the game, impulses, Spider-Man, whatever. You can greed your positioning and have a shit spot, get surge, because then your mobility will bail you out for the future zones. Now it's like, okay, let's think about this. Let's say we have a team, we have a Rocky team. Okay, here, this is the zone. They're going to base up on the billboard here, and they're going to get all the tags on the teams that are going to be rotating like this, trying to get the zone. They're going to sit there early. They're going to get their surge. Let's say they get 300 tags. They're good. Oh, awesome. You're good on 70 surge. Now what's your plan? Well, you already have teams based up here because you wasted all your time doing that. So you're here, zones come in, it's like right here. You're going to have to white line it and build a fuck ton just to get in. Now let's say you get into zone. Here's the zone. You're somewhere in tilted, based up, farming materials, eating clomberries, fucking here or whatever. You have teams all around you. There's like fucking 8 teams in tilted. You're shambles. You're shambles, shambles, shambles. Just because you have your surge, like, yippee, yay, I'm above surge, I won't die to surge. But now you're in a shitty spot. You're in a horrible position, and there's nothing you can do to get yourself out of it unless you just get lucky, find a god refresh. You go early enough where people aren't looking at you. You somehow make it to one of these launch pads and you go. Either way, it's like every play you have is like a Hail Mary. It's like dear God, I hope this works. I hope no one's looking at me. I can just make it to zone. That's all because you have your early surge. Again, like, yeah, woo, but you're shitty. Like, your position is shitty. You're in a bad spot. You're going to get focused. You're going to get targeted. It's just a very bad spot to be in. Now, if you did it early, you get your surge, and then you leave and you're first person on this hill. You claim this hill. You funnel all the teams around you. Now, when zone pulls, you have a free rotate. So if you're an early enough team, you can kind of sit edge, kind of. I mean, this hill is okay, because if you get people up here, then you can break LOS and loop around, something like that. I wouldn't go left. You break LOS and probably end up either trying to go all the way under like this or basing up somewhere around here. But either way, it's like edge is just so scary. Now let's think about it. Let's think about the 8 teams, or all the teams that are going to be positioned here on edge of zone, this zone. So actually, let's just do way bigger of a field here. Let's just do like all of this right here. All of the teams that are going to be positioned right here. Well, let's do pink for the teams that got there early. We have a team here, that's not even in zone, sorry. So this team probably is going to be in a good spot, because if you think about it, the team that got here early is able to rotate early while all the other teams are trying to get in. So they're actually would probably be able to get a good position somewhere around here. So let's just assume that they're, let's say they made it to right here. Then we have a few teams on colliders. We probably have one kind of over here, some based up on the natural forms of rotates. We have a team here, and then we have a fuck ton of teams that rotated in late. Yellow is a bad color. Green's also a bad color. Let's just do black for the teams that got, or blue. These are all the teams that get in and are on edge now. So we have a fuck ton of teams in here. Fuck ton, obviously not this many teams, but a fair amount of teams kind of just all throughout here. You know, we might have some on the bottom of this hill. This is way too many teams, but we get the point. Just a fuck ton of people over here. What are the chances everybody here has their surge, they're in a good position, they don't need a refresh, and they're confident on their next rotate? Well, if zone keeps pulling the logjam, this is going to be a very, very, very bad rotate. They're going to get held by all the teams over here, so you can't really cross this area. Sure, you can fly in. It's going to be pretty risky because anybody that's already in zone is just going to laser you into the air. Or you can try to swing left when all these teams already leave and they're already based up here. So the goal, it's kind of like you really have to time in it, because you have to go when all these teams are leaving, and you have to catch up behind them and kind of be rotating right next to them with them. If you tag them and grief their game, they're going to have to heal, and then your game's fucked because everyone's going to get lobbied and it's just going to be horrible. So, are they shambles? Probably. I mean, if all these teams are late, that either means they fought in Storm, whether they were contested or they found a team that forced them to fight, so they're low on everything, or they're shambles, that one of them died off spawn, they rebooted somewhere else, so they're trying to get the zone. Either way, everyone that's going to be on the edge, other than the teams that were already established on edge, are going to be shambles. They're going to be low on materials, they're going to be low on loot, they're going to be low on surge, and they're going to be looking for a refresh. And that's going to be you. If you're another team in that position, you guys both have to play hyper aggressive. You basically have to 50-50 each other for surge. If you're down 300 surge, you're going to need to hop into a box. And it's just, you know, it's fucking horrible. You just did all that. Sure, maybe you have your 300 surge and you have your early surge, but you got beat up from all the teams that are already established. Now you're low on everything and you have to fight one of these teams here or try to make this rotate in without getting, like, you're fucked. Everyone's going to be pretty much fucked on this side. So please don't play on edge unless you have a form of natural mobility to bail you out. Let's just move this zone a bit. Can I do that? Edit. No, I can't. Let's say this is the zone instead. That's a bad one. Do right here. And this is zone. Now, this is the edge right here. Basing up here or here is fine because you have the geysers to bail you out. Let's just say this was in as well and these were in. You can base up there, sit there, get your surge on the teams that have to rotate, and then use the natural mobility to get out. Now, let's say you have the grappler gloves. You can be one of those teams that are over here and just grapple into zone. You don't want to use them too early. You only have 10 shots, so you probably want to get maybe use one shot to get like a better position. So if you're here, maybe you get to here, you're getting held from multiple people. You chill for a second, they look over here, then you grapple, something like that. But if you have the grapple gloves, you're almost like you're back in the card meta. You can use the gloves to bail you out. So you can get shitty positioning and use the gloves to bail you out. So if you have the gloves, you know, this doesn't really matter as much. But if you don't have the gloves, then it matters a lot. So basically, yeah, that's it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want any other topics talked about. Once preseason is over, I'll start doing the POIs and the splits and everything like that. I mean, preseason, they're just switching everything up so fast, and I just don't want to do a video on Greasy Grove and then, you know, next season or fucking the next day it's now has the anti-gravity shit that Holly had. Holly had just had that one fucking season. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want any other topics. This was recording. God bless, and yeah, cheers.